Hey, Interweb fam. So, Vidman asks, well, let me read the question specifically. Nixel, it would be interesting to hear your philosophy on what the meaning and purpose of life for you. Do you have some sort of specific rule set or moral code that you follow? Well, Vidman, I've probably, if you can't tell, I mean, my faith in God is a big part of what defines my worldview, which defines how I interact with people and the world around me. So when I was about 7 years old, I started on a path which was having a relationship with God. So I came to the knowledge of who Jesus was and what he did on the cross for me. And I felt compelled that from that knowledge I needed to make a choice about whether or not to accept that, which if you're not familiar with the story of Jesus, in a nutshell, you were born into a damaged world, a world that's corrupted by a process we would define as sin. Sin isn't a list of things that you shouldn't do. It is, by definition, not being perfect. Okay, so God created a world that was ideal, that was just almost perfect, but we as humans have always had a leaning towards imperfection. We go away from what we're told to do, and we do what we feel we want to do. There's a little bit of a pride issue with us humans that we don't always do what's right, so we fail a lot. And through that process, today, we are now in a world of pain and sorrow and difficulty. But there is a redeeming quality that is offered through the fact that even though we're not perfect and we cannot attain that level of godliness that is required to be with God and to be in communion with God, that Jesus offered himself as a sacrifice, a perfect person, okay, who lived a perfect life, who never did anything wrong to anybody, was sacrificed for you, for me, and through that sacrifice, I am redeemed. So, and everybody has that potential to be redeemed. It's just a matter of accepting what Jesus has offered, what that sacrifice is for you. And that is a life-changing acceptance. It's not a thing you just check off on a card and say, oh, yeah, I believe that, sure. If it means good things for me, I'll believe that and walk away. It's because that's not real belief. If you really believe something, I always give the example of Christopher Columbus. If you really believe the world is round, then you get on a boat. Okay, you can't just say you believe it. That's just an opinion. If you don't do anything about it, you just have an opinion. Okay, but if you believe something, you act on it. And so, at 7 years old, I came to that belief, and then I have since then been in a continual process of screwing up and then renewing and setting my path straight again. A relationship with God is a relationship, and so sometimes it gets cold. Sometimes I don't talk to God for long periods of time, and it's a horrible thing for a relationship. But it happens, and then things spark back up again, and I draw back closer to God, and every time I'm rewarded with a deeper understanding of who He is, and that changes who I am. And that has developed me to be the person I am today, and hopefully continues to develop me to be more and more drawing close to that character of who God is. So that's in a nutshell kind of the philosophy or the things that happened in my life that led me to the point where I would say that the Bible is a big part of my philosophy on life. If you don't read the Bible, it's worth checking out. There's a few things I would recommend if you've never read the Bible before. The Bible app on your tablet or device is great for reading the Bible. It's just a nice little free tool. Anyone can get it, and it's got every different version of the Bible, so you can find one that reads well to you. My favorite version of the Bible is the New Living Translation because it reads the way I speak, and I find that helpful. They also have audio versions, so you can just listen to it on there. Then there's, if you're trying to get into context of the history of what they're talking about in the Bible, there's a great YouTube channel called The Bible Project, where they explain the history of each book of the Bible and kind of what in broader view is going on, and like, so why is this guy saying this thing to these people? Well, if you kind of look at the history of it, you'll understand a better perspective of what was really going on. So that's a great channel to kind of dig into that if you're interested. As far as a rule set or a moral code, that's it. And if you're not familiar with the Bible, there's 2 rules for a Bible-believing Christian. There's just 2 rules, which is love your neighbor just like you love yourself, which is 2 things really, because it requires you to love yourself and to love your neighbor. If you don't really love yourself, you're not really equipped to love your neighbor. And that's what I deal with a lot of people when I see people that are struggling and they're behaving poorly around other people or treating people badly. Often it's hard to treat other people well when you don't treat yourself well. So sometimes that's why I'll spend some time talking to somebody who's struggling with treating people poorly, is because the majority of the time that's a sign that they don't treat themselves well. They don't love themselves, so it's real hard to love other people. But that's the number 1 rule, and the number 2 rule is love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and body. So love God. I can't think of anything else that has impacted me as greatly as my relationship with God. I will say that when it comes to philosophies, a few years ago I sat down and thought about my purpose in life. Struggled with like trying to figure out who am I, what do I do, especially because I'd gone through so many life changes. And I listed all the things that most impacted me in life. And the biggest one that impacted me in my life was becoming a dad. And then what I learned through the course of being a single parent for a while was that a lot of kids don't have dads, and there was times where we would have just stray kids come to the house and hang out. And they would hang out because my kids were awesome and they loved my kids. But at the same time, they would hang out because there was a father figure that was around. And that thought process broke my heart, because I've always had a good dad. He's still in my life. I still go to him when I need to do some weird craft project or build something and I need a tool or I need to know the best way to do it. I'll discuss my ideas with him. He's a great guy. I'm grateful for that in my life. But the idea that some people don't have those kind of relationships was a burden on my heart. So as I was writing out my purpose for my life and trying to nail it down to one statement, it became the statement of be a family to those who don't have a family. So that's one of the philosophies I try to live by, is that try to recognize when people are struggling alone, and try to be a family support system to that person, which is part of the reason why on Discord I am even here, and why I spend time and effort and energy on these communities on Discord, is because to me this is a way to fulfill that purpose, to be a family to people who might need a family. And honestly, that's true for me too. There's times where I need, I need to fill that purpose, and I need to feel like I'm connected with more people as a family to kind of deal with my own, heartache and loss. I will do that sometimes where I need that connection. And I appreciate you guys, and I appreciate the opportunity to do this whole interweb fam thing. That's a big part of my life is interacting with you guys and communicating with you guys, trying to be a family support system, which is also why I'm starting a new thing on the server where you can type in !family and you can join join the Interweb fam as a family member versus just being a friend. There's nothing wrong with just being a friend, and if you type in !family, you'll get more information about what that means. But I have these overwhelming and I have these overreaching goals of what I'm doing on communities like Interweb fam. Is that I'm trying to build and be part of a family support system to people who might not have that. That's fulfilling to me. It fulfills my purpose, which makes me happy, and I hope that it's helpful to others too. And honestly, I've made some great friends along this path of doing this kind of stuff, and there's been times where I really needed that, and it's been great to have it. So appreciate you guys, and I'm sorry it takes so long making these long form videos. They require me to actually purposely sit down and do it, and I've been doing the Instagram daily videos, and those do kind of eat up my resources and time. Trying to think of what to talk about and then try to fit it into a 1-minute slot is really tricky. So appreciate you guys for checking this out, and let me know if you like the long form videos better, or if you prefer the little 1-minute daily videos, because I'm not sure I can always do both. And I'm kind of curious as to which one would be better suited for people to actually engage with. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.